Hey guys, what's good? Derek here from Bomb Socks with more BOM-BITES, where we feast upon the words of Christ one bite at a time. So here we are. We are finishing up this year. This is the final episode of the year as we wrap up the Book of Mormon. This week has been incredible as we focused on Moroni's exhortations in Moroni chapter 10. And what a gift it has been to study this book with you. Now, just a reminder, next week we are taking the week off to spend time with family, spend some time just enjoying the holidays and preparing for the upcoming year with the Doctrine and Covenants. And like I said, we've got some incredible new things we're going to be testing out. In fact, there is an opt-in page in the links for wherever you are watching this, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. Go click on that and you will see what we have planned to stay with you a little bit longer in the scriptures for this next year. And we think you're going to love it because it's going to make things a little bit more engaging, a little bit more meaningful, and a lot more sweet. Now, as we finish up the Book of Mormon today, I want to share a little bit of a personal experience that I've had with the Book of Mormon. And for me, this was kind of a foundational turning point with my own testimony of the Book of Mormon. And it was a day where I truly had the opportunity to immerse myself in the Book of Mormon, and it has forever changed me. So we're going to rewind to August the 14th of 2001, way back in the day. So at the time I was teaching at a particular seminary, and we were getting ready to start off the new year where we're going to be teaching the Book of Mormon. And I was actually down at a seminary teacher symposium down at BYU, and President Henry B. Eyring was speaking. And President Eyring loves the Book of Mormon, as all of the brethren do, but President Eyring has always seemed to have a special testimony of the Book of Mormon. And he gave this message. It was called, "We Must Raise Our Sights." And it's just about raising the bar for ourselves as teachers, as parents, as leaders, and just individuals in the church. So during his talk, and he was talking a lot about the Book of Mormon, I felt a strong prompting. And the prompting was that I needed to read the Book of Mormon cover to cover before the school year started. Now, this was 2 weeks before school started. And up to that point, I had read the Book of Mormon. I read the Book of Mormon many times. This was not a brand new experience for me. But over the last year, I had kind of read from it. I had not read it cover to cover in probably a year or so. Again, I cherry picked things from it, read from it. I had been studying other things the previous year. And so I hadn't really focused on the Book of Mormon as much as I should have. Again, my testimony of it was great, but I had not read it cover to cover. And so with the school year starting, I had less than 2 weeks to make this happen. And I looked at my schedule and every single day was busy. Like I'm preparing for the school year. And I found that there was one day, and it was this August the 14th. It was a Saturday. And it was the Saturday right before school started where I had nothing going on. And I went to my wife and I just said, "Hey, I'm going to read the Book of Mormon." She's like, "That's awesome. We all should read the Book of Mormon." And I said, "Well, I'm going to read it on Saturday." And she's like, "You're crazy." And I said, "Yep, you're absolutely right with that." Because I'm not a reader. I'm not a guy who just jumps into books and just can read for, hours and hours and hours. Now, I lose interest after maybe, half an hour or so. And so this for me was a little bit of a task, but I really felt like I needed to do this. So I got up 5 o'clock in the morning, went over to our church meeting house, grabbed one of those cool little missionary edition of the Book of Mormon, the blue ones. I didn't bring anything to mark. I left my watch in the car. I just wanted to have an immersion type of experience in the Book of Mormon. I read to you a little bit about Parley P. Pratt a few weeks ago, where he had talked about his experience with the Book of Mormon. And he described that eating was a burden. Sleep was a burden. I preferred reading to all of these things. And so I wanted to have that type of an experience with the Book of Mormon. And so I prayed beforehand. I went there fasting. And again, about 5 o'clock, I just cracked open 1 Nephi chapter 1, verse 1 and started reading. I, Nephi, having been born of goodly parents, the most often read chapter in scripture, right? And I started going through this and just page by page, I'm pacing that floor. It's just a small little classroom I was in, and I laid on the floor. And I was all over that room all day long as I read from the Book of Mormon. And hours passed by. And honestly, I was into that book. One of the coolest things when you do it that way is I could tell when writers changed. Like I was reading Nephi, and all of a sudden when Jacob pops in, I'm like, whoa, this is a different guy. When you're reading it that quickly, you can tell when different writers change. That's a testimony to me that Joseph Smith did not write the Book of Mormon. This is something that is translated from ancient records, from individuals who wrote this. And as I was reading, I felt like I was getting to know these people personally. It was so cool. And one of the things I noticed is how they were looking forward to the coming of Jesus Christ, how they had prepared themselves. They followed the law of Moses. They They did these things to help prepare them for Jesus Christ. And as I got to 3 Nephi chapter 11, I slowed down and I saw the coming of Jesus Christ. And it was wonderful to be able to see him there. They had been praying for him. They'd been searching for him. They'd been writing about him, and here he was. It was so cool to be able to see that. I had spent hours in anticipation of his coming, and I felt like I was there with him. It was so cool. And I was just deeply moved by seeing him minister to them. It was awesome. So by the time I got to Moroni chapter 10, kind of like what I talked about earlier this week, I did not have to ask if it was true. I knew it was true as I was going along the entire experience. And I was really overwhelmed with gratitude. I knew it was true. It was just a confirming witness to me to be able to know that the book that I was getting ready to teach was absolutely true. Now, what's interesting is I walked out of the building. I had no idea what time it was. I had lost track of time. It was so cool. You know, in a world where we're constantly worried about time, when we're focusing on like, oh, what time is it? How much time do I have to do this? I had lost track of time. So I went out of the church meeting house and I'm like, I have no idea what time it is. It was dark and I'm just like, is it midnight? Is it Sunday? I have no idea. And I went and looked at my watch and it said it was 7:30 p.m. And I had just spent 14 and a half hours reading the Book of Mormon. It's like an average of over 40 pages an hour. And that is way beyond my natural ability to read, my friends. I can tell you that God helped me that day. So on Monday, as I stood before my seminary class, I was excited. I was like, guys, I read the Book of Mormon on Saturday. And they're like, you're crazy. And I'm like, yep, you're right. I am. But I could testify to them that I knew that it was true. I'd been able to do that anyway because of my experience with the Book of Mormon. But that just helped solidify some things for me. And that day changed me. And I probably will not have that experience. I don't know, maybe I will have that experience again someday. But I think every person needs to take the time to read the Book of Mormon a little bit quicker than normal. Maybe you read it in you read it in a day, you read it in a week, month, I don't know. I think there is power in slowing down. I think there's power in reading it quickly. Bottom line, there is a power in this book, however you choose to read it. Now, in fact, something you may want to try, you got a couple weeks before the end of the calendar year, maybe you could. I mean, what an ambitious, crazy goal, right? You could try it. Again, worst case scenario, you don't finish it, but you gain a stronger testimony of Jesus Christ along the way as you're doing it. And you just keep reading and you keep studying it. You know, Joseph Smith said, this book will get a man nearer to God by abiding by its precepts than by any other book. And I know that the Book of Mormon is true. Now, with that said, I remember when President Nelson said this. He said, whenever I hear anyone, including myself, say, I know the Book of Mormon is true, I want to exclaim, that's nice. But that is not enough. We need to feel deep in the inmost part of our hearts that the Book of Mormon is unequivocally the Word of God. Unequivocally means in a way that leaves no doubt. That day brought me closer to God because of that book. And I'm grateful we've had a chance to study it this year as well. I'm grateful for you guys sharing your insights and your testimonies with me as well. What a cool experience it has been studying the Book of Mormon with you, and I'm grateful for that. Now, I'm also excited for the year coming up where we get to study the Doctrine and Covenants. I'm a church history nerd, and I love the opportunity to be able to share those things with you. So until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas with your loved ones. Enjoy the holidays, and we'll get back with you a week later with this all new way that we're going to study the Doctrine and Covenants, and I think you guys are going to love it. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and thank you for sharing these messages. It means the world to us. If you haven't already, you got to go check out our amazingly comfortable gospel-themed socks at BOM-BITES.com. Godspeed, my friends, and we will see you. Take care. Bye-bye.